for those who died, look, there are on the first class there are 123, on the second class 58, and on the third class 528. But if you look at the third class on its row, so there are 528 and 181 that survive, with a total of number of passengers on that class, about 709. Okay, so 709. So if if you look at the percentages, 65.3 of those who died were in third class. Okay, if it's in the column side. However, if you look at it on in a row side, 75.4% of those in the third class died. Okay, so if you look at it on the column, from the total number of passengers or total number of deaths, so only 65.3. But if you look at the deaths on the total number of passengers within the third class, there was higher number of percentages that died out of the people who were in the third class. Next slide, please. Okay. So on the question of did class affect survival, so if we fill in the percentages on the stock bar and interpret, you can see that on the first class, the green was survive, right? And the blue color died. So looking at this, what do you think? As compared to the table, what do you think, guys? As compared to the table that was presented, which was more easier to understand? How uh, can you interpret this based on the stock bar, even in 1 to 2 sentences? Borja, looking at the stock bar, what can you say in comparing Borja Rue? Hello? Hello? Are the people around?
Hello, Doc.
Okay.
Hello, Doc.
On this chart or figure?
Pwede na, Doc, mag-try.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who
With
are
regards
you?
to the class, obehas po, Doc.
Okay.
Dahil ako undog mag-unit akong camera kay mahinit
Yeah.
ako.
They also mean. Sige.
With regards to
problem.
the class, it shows that class 1 shows higher incidence of death compared to second and third class based on the
Higher what? Opposite siguro. Look at the color, the legend.
Okay, the lower the class, the higher the mortality. So third class being the lower. Tama ba?
Third class having the highest mortality.
Highest mortality compared to the.
Look, blue is yeah, blue is death.
Oh, blue is
to the first class, right? Oh.
Anay daw.
Blue is namatay.
Try again.
Okay.
Ulit.
Kitaan na imo legend.
So,
look first at the legend.
So, blue represents the population that died, and then green represents the population that survived. So based on the stock bar, third class showed the least number of people who survived, while the first class showed the most number of people survive.
Okay.
Tama ba to?
Oh yeah. So very good. So in your results presentation, in your paper, it's really also very important to determine which or what kind of figure to present or show your data para mas madali maintindihan. Okay? So, um, can you all agree that looking at this figure, you can already make a summary or a description of the survival chances of survival and mortality of those who of the different classes, right? At
Yes po.
botany, right? Okay.
Yes, Doc.
So next slide, please. So in here, did class affect survival? Okay. So the solution for that. So the percentage within each class are preferable due to different class frequencies. So to further analyze that graph or figure stock bar that was presented. So the question of interest is whether the class of an individual affected their chances of survival. So as there are different numbers in the classes, the percentage or the percentages within those who died are misleading in option one, right? If we look at the right percentages, okay? So there were 709 people in the third class, but only 323 and 277 in the first and second class, respectively. So we would be expecting a higher percentages of third class people in both the died and survived categories. So it's clear that the people in the lower classes were more likely was more likely to have died, which is 74.5 of those in third class died, but only 38.1% of those in the first class. So that explains the stock bar. Okay, so next slide, please. On the did class affect survival for the contingency table, a multiple or stack bar chart can be used. So that was the one that we used, can be used based on frequencies or percentage within. So adding labels within the percentages the charts can be helpful. So the data collection on the 1,309 passengers aboard the Titanic was used to investigate whether class had an effect on the chances of survival. Okay, and there was an evidence with a chi-square test statistics of 127.86 with a p-value of 0.001 to suggest that there is an association between class and survival. So that figure, the stock bar, shows that class and chances of survival were related. Okay, so as class decreases, the percentage of those surviving also decreases from 62% in the first class to 26% in the third class. Okay? So, you think masakay pa kamo first, second, third class pag sumakay yung barko based on the study? What do you think? High first class, di ba adto ilarom ano? Or adto ilarom ang third class?
Third class do kita ada ilarong. First class
Ate
ita.
ilarom, ada first class itabaw-baw. Siyempre, bagan kung kikitaon mo ano, di ka kasi ilarom, mas taas gud mo chances of dying kaya di ka ilarom. Pero depende la, kabutang luwat adat barko ano. Do you think? Depende laluwat. Kay kung may maupay iya nga access, malaksi paggawas. Okay? Malaksi siya pag ano. I can still remember pag take namon ng NMAT exam pag kadto namon na Cebu. Adto una dili pa man to super strict, and like now nga mag signal number 1 nga ni dili gid talaga pwede umandar it barko. Adto nga time manamon time younger days dili wala man ito dili sugad dito ka strict. So when we took the NMAT, usada kami more than half of the class. We went to Cebu to take the exam. My God, on the middle of the sea, bumagyo na, as in grabe yung duro. Nasa ko, makakamatay, eda kami ni. As in, kung pa man, dili pa man ito mag-upay ang barko, nagfa-flop pa ang mga antabunan side. Basta, wala na dito yung mga barko. Kaya amo pa ito yan sikatan unang panahon. So, kung makaka-survive ba kami? Hindi na kami magkakadoktor hini. Kay grabe na kuan and waves. Pero, makarit adaan kapitan, umulpot man kami sa Cebu. Pero damo na nanunuka. And we were on the top deck. Didn't bow-bow. Kinasing ako ng mga classmate. Ayaw kita itong dito ilarom. Hindi kita bow-bow. Kung magkaano man, pagkaambak kita. I think it was also my first time to ride the boat. So, grabing duro. Unfortunately now, especially after Yolanda, nag-change na ang policy. So, if there is even a low pressure, pag mag-signal number 1, wala na good maandar nga barko. Ano una nga panahon, di rin, basta kay, may barko maandar. Tapos damo na ito nagkakadidisgrasyan, una pa nga panahon. And most of them were unreported. Okay. In fact, when I was I was a DTTB assigned in an island municipality. People said on the municipality said that because we're facing the Pacific Ocean, they said that there was a time nga may usa ka barko nga nag-capsize. So, damo talaga ko na namatay. Pag nasa ko, wala man ito ka-report. We don't know about it. Damo ko na namatay nga. Going to Surigao, siguro coming from Liluan. So, nag-capsize sa kabarko to damo durong tao. There was a time that the people ko nga nakita nila ng mga dead bodies. At pag-abrihan mga tiil, damo, because we're talking of food, damon squid ko no dito sa ako. Oh, di na makaon yung squid, ano ba yan? Pero anyway, nasa nga, maihan naman adto. Maihan naman ko no adto. So, talking about pagkaon ng mga seafoods. So, una, grabe ko na damon nag-capsize because it's a Philippine deep water. So, I was thinking, amo siguro gip ini nga, and di nga, so ito kadamo ini nga. Pero hadto nga time no, 1912, damo na ang 1,000 in one boat. Kay usually ang mga ships pirala ang mga sakay hundreds, so thousands is many. Pero yun na tatong mga boats, grabe pa diri la hundreds kay thousands na gihapon. So kun yan na ito matatabo, mas delikado kay dagdaramon na, especially itong mga cruise liners, thousands na sakay ito. Dili la 1,000, as in more than that, mga cruise liners. Pero they claimed that the maritime industry is much more solid now as compared to before. I believe because of the technology. Okay. Bagat waray na lang ito hairet mga mga balud. Pero kaya di man balud ini. I don't know what happens to damo kasi theory with Titanic. So let's continue. Next slide. The low expected cell counts with the chi-squared tests. So look, we have no cells with expected low counts below 5, because in chi-squared test there should be no no less than 5 in the counts in the cells. So you cannot use the chi-square test if may ka figure or number nga less than 5 hinidinhi nga gimpo point. Okay, ito nga 2 by 2 table. So that's why, because it's one of the later we'll be looking on the qualification in using the chi-square test. Okay, so there is no cell that with low cell counts, but that chi-square test is invalidated if there are more than 20% or 1 in 5,000 cells with expected cell counts below S. The good thing with software now, they will also tell you if there are cells with less than 5K. So it will even report to you that 0 cells have expected count less than 5. So the minimum expected count is 105.81. So that's why in for medical students, uh, I myself, especially in biostatistics, what's important is the principle behind. No need for the computation because there are softwares that would help us compute those. Unlike we, if you will be, unlike if you would be going into masteral or a BS on statistics or statistics biostatistics for that matter, then you really need to compute. Oh, so also I myself during my fellowship in epidemiology, we were really manually computing everything. The chi-square test, the t-test for significance, the the variance, the how do you call the, the standard deviations. We were all computing that manually, and during the didactics. But when during the applications, we were already using the software. So mostly the software that we used during that time was EPNFO, but now we have a variety of choices from SPSS. You can use the MS Excel. You can already use the EPNFO as well, because EPNFO is free as compared to the others. uh, I think SPSS has the program is as there's a fee for that. You have to buy the so unlike before that uh, that's why in most of the research papers I'm advising to use the MS Excel or EPNFO since it's more or less free. Okay, so I'm sorry if I was late in doing the lecture kay nagmuok ako. I was so tired because yesterday I reviewed 3 papers. I did 3 technical papers, second tech and first tech. So it was like so tiresome because I was reviewing different topics, so different departments. So one was surgery, the other was pedia, and the other one was pathology. And pathology was like there was a it was a different kind of format that she wanted, and the topic was somehow good for an operational or action plan research. So it was a dilemma on how to tell her in that because it's not the usual research that we're doing. It's a different research, it's a different lectures, and it's a different format. So it was a challenge on how to guide her to go into this way and to make it as a stepping stone for her bosses to do it on the other way if there was a result. So I was really so tired kay makuri pag tinutdo because it's different when you go into residency because it's a one-on-one already. So one resident per paper. So fortunately for the surgeon, because they were still able to submit by pairs, but that was the end of it because the second year and the first year surgery residents are not allowed in anymore to go in pairs. Every department has to have an individual paper per resident. So that would also that's also the thing that would be happening to you when you go into residency. So, and I have a good news. It residency because EVMC is going into a multidisciplinary training center. They're really looking for residents who would undergo into a more subspecialized training. So you have a good future, guys. Okay, make do, make do with your studies. Okay, the opportunity is so high. They will send training people for training, not just here in the country but outside. Kung hain ka na fit hito nga training program. Kaya damot yun ang mga pagkita ko din na naman planning. So damo maniningian pa. Damo pa it we fill up like even now we only have one or two colorectal surgeon. We only have one gynae oncologist. We only have one or two like oncologists. We only have one or two um cardiovascular cardiologists or three cardiologists, and we only have like one pulmonologist. So parang damo pa yung durot kinahanglan, damo ang pandurot kinahanglan. So it's really very important to finish your studies and as early as now to know your direction. And really, guys, research is a big part of your career because unless in I was really so tired the whole week because I went to RTR for the presentations of the residents and technical review. Tapos I was also with the hospital because all of the clinical departments as well as the management has to undergo a research. So I have to look at the value and the merit of their proposals on research. So, ay, Diyos ko na singa. Pamati ko kami nila, ako nila dat barbatahin nga hindi nga research. So, I'm looking for people who want to go into research. Kay tututduan ko talaga kadipagdungan kita. So that's why I'm also guiding the people, the research coordinators in the hospital as well as in the two other hospitals at RTR and Divine Word hospitals. I'm guiding the research coordinators so that they will also have a valuable researches. So talagang nagbubuligay nila kami kay wala man ibahin. And we need good doctors in the future. So pag eskwela talaga ka man maupay, we have a good future. Kaya bagan, iba na yun mas deeper nga subspecialties. So EVMC is a good venue for your may da nga ni usa pala may daw sa nga specialty nga naka-specialty na walay pa capability and EVMC so lumakat na ani niya which is radiology onco parang oncologist nga radiology something like that. Tapos may dapat nila yung bibiniling nga although may dira possible for training so nagdidepende kasi resident physician. Kaya usahay na sinayakan na gusto niya ini pero pag-aabot niya to adi ngayon tiya gusto. So nawawala na lot online. Tapos there were people who were trained on this. Syempre, mas gusto nila ira career at ibang department. So damot opportunities for doctors. Don't just think nga ada lang ngayon. Bisan ako na amo ngayon dili laya suga dito may dapat mga subspecs that are needed especially now. Not just at EVMC but in other hospitals nag-aaragaw na nga ni may daw sa nga consult ko nga resident physician and her paper was accepted for international congress on endocrinology and she was accepted for subspec in Manila. So I was thinking pwede ma-invite the EVMC binantayan na hiya St. Paul's to be hired as well. So dito ka in demand dito in subspecialties. That's why you study very well, guys. Okay? So next slide, please. Next slide, please. So this is the last slide. So let's end our lecture. And so the low cell counts with the chi-square test. So they check the number of cells with expected counts less than 5. SPSS reports the number a percentage of cells with an expected count of less than 5. So if more than 20%, then the test statistic does not approximate a chi-square distribution very well. So if any expected cell counts are less than one, then cannot use the chi-square distribution. It's really important. That's why in your sample population, it's better to have a greater number of samples. That's when iba nga student na limit in less in 50 lang or 30. No, the bigger the number, the better the sample, so that the probability for your chi-square is chi-squared to be rejected is there. So if there's a case of 2 by 2 table, SPSS reports that to use Fisher's X-tack, but if in larger tables, combine categories, so to provide categories to make cell counts larger, so providing it's meaningful. So even in doing our researches, I'm always telling the resident physicians that even if you may use or need the help of statisticians, but in terms of looking for the meaning and analysis in your paper, it's really your role. It's really your responsibility. What we need for the statisticians is to guide us on or for them to make the statistical analysis, but it's still our role and responsibility to look for the meaning of our paper. Okay, especially in residency. Kayo time, kita untan mga methodology. Okay? So this hypothesis testing really is a very, very long lecture because this is highly technical. So, but I already gave Hannah, Chelsea, the PowerPoint, okay? But your assignment would be to review your paper, please, so that you may have an idea already of what the type of statistical test or if you want to do some statistical analysis, okay? So review again na lang para on ano natin niya i-appropriate so that when you go to the second year, di rin na kita magpuri. Okay, I really want the students to have their research papers and final paper with a good or high quality. Okay, gusto ko ibanggat atong mga paper ha EVA, RDZ, and also in other fora. Actually, the simplest the topic and the simple it is, the much more better. Okay, in even at international fora in our dictum in the definite for in we have an organization which I am a member of, which is the the network for the epidemiology network, international network. Our dictum is to make it to have our papers to practice the keys, which is the keeping it short and simple, so that everybody can understand. So aside from making a lot of people understand, but also to be able to go direct to what really is the problem. So kung nahimay-himay mo na ito, nakita mo na talaga pinaka-simplest form, it means ikaw mismo, dili ka na magkaka-add doubts and as well as a lot of questions on your paper. Okay? So thank you. That ends our lecture for today. We'll continue again next time. Chelsea, just take a note of the attendance, please.
Yes, Doc.
Okay. And I hope you did well with the quizzes, the first by monthly. So again, this is more technical, but I will make sure that in the exams it will not be as that. Okay, fortunately for you guys, what I kuan how do you call that in Canvas, di rin pwede mag-computation eh. So but in second sem daw ko no, by January face to face na, but still we talked with Ma'am Lynn that 50% palat capacity. So I was telling her that if that happens, we cannot have the face to face on the second year. Kay 100 plus sila kung 50%. person 50 lat masulod 50 to magkukuan mag-virtual. So but she told me that it's still the option of the professor whether to have it face to face or not. So I was thinking I will opt for the virtual lagi hapon. Virtual ako kay 150% la. So I was telling her that probably uh the most that we can have nga dili face to face iton first year kay 40 la. Bisan dili pwede kay maigo dito aton mga classrooms pero ay mo kay haluag induro. I don't know pero definitely iyo clinics magpa face to face kung ako iyo ma-option gyud pa kon face to face with the clinics kay amot yan at dako nga issue and clinical practice among medical students kay bisan pa ito gin virtual it's different when you feel the patient uh, personally. Okay, so do you have any questions before we end? Makuri question.
None po, Doc.
Makuri question. But anyway, thank you very much and good morning.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you
Thank you,
po,
Doc.
Doc. Good morning.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Doc.